They say that nothing exists in the middle of the Sahara, only sand, heat, and silence. But when NASA satellites began mapping the region in the 1960s, something inexplicable appeared in the images. A gigantic, perfectly circular formation, more than 40 kilometers across, carved into the heart of the desert. At first, scientists believed it might be the remains of a massive meteor impact. But there were no traces of shock, no fragments, no signs of explosion. Then, they suggested it was the result of volcanic activity. Yet there was no evidence of lava flow, no crater walls, no volcanic rock. The more they studied it, the more the spiral and symmetrical shape seemed too perfect to be natural. They named it the Richat Structure, but the world would come to know it as the Eye of Africa, or the Eye of the Sahara. From above, it looks almost alien. A vast, concentric pattern in the middle of nowhere, as if drawn by an ancient hand, for reasons long forgotten. Decades passed, and the mystery only deepened. Geological theories tried to explain it, but none seemed fully convincing. Then someone noticed something that changed everything. The dimensions and proportions of this strange circular formation matched almost perfectly with the descriptions left by Plato over 2,000 years ago when he wrote about the lost city of Atlantis. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato described Atlantis as a great island civilization, made of concentric rings, 3 of land and 2 of water, surrounded by a vast plain and mountains to the north. It was said to lie beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar in the Atlantic Ocean. But what if Plato's account was never meant to be taken as a story about a city beneath the sea? What if Atlantis was not swallowed by water, but by sand? If you look closely, the Eye of Africa fits that idea almost too well. Its rings align with Plato's measurements, its mountains match his descriptions. Even its rivers, now dry, could have once flowed between those same circular bands. Could the Eye of the Sahara be the eroded remains of a once great civilization that perished thousands of years ago? Or is it just a geological coincidence that happens to mirror one of the oldest myths in human history? What do you think? Could NASA's images have captured the final trace of Atlantis, hidden in plain sight in the world's largest desert? The truth may still lie beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered. When researchers began studying the Eye of the Sahara more closely, strange coincidences started to appear. Beneath the layers of sand and rock, satellite scans revealed traces of ancient riverbeds, channels that once carried massive amounts of water across what is now one of the driest places on Earth. If this region was once fertile and green, then the idea of an ancient civilization thriving here no longer seems impossible. Plato wrote that Atlantis had mountains to the north and an open plain to the south, where the city's rings were built. When scientists compared modern topographic maps of the Richat Structure, they found exactly that: high ground to the north and a vast flat plain stretching to the south. Even the diameter of the circular formation matched Plato's proportions almost perfectly, but there is something even more intriguing. Around the Eye of Africa, explorers have discovered unusual stone formations, fossilized seashells, and traces of marine life thousands of kilometers away from the ocean. That means that at some point in history, this region was not a desert. It was covered by water. Could it be that Atlantis did not sink beneath the sea, but that the sea itself retreated, leaving its ruins behind? Local legends among the Mauritanian tribes also tell of an ancient people who lived in the area long before the desert existed. They speak of cities swallowed by the earth, of great floods, and of a civilization that disappeared without a trace. Some of these stories are eerily similar to Plato's description of Atlantis being destroyed in a single day and night of misfortune. Still, mainstream science insists the Richat Structure is a natural formation, a dome of rock slowly eroded by wind and time. According to this view, its near-perfect shape is nothing more than coincidence. But if that's true, why do so many details match the story of Atlantis so precisely? The eye's size, shape, and orientation all align with the ancient texts. Even the placement of nearby mountain ranges and remnants of rivers correspond to what Plato described more than 2,000 years ago. Could all of this really be accidental? If the Eye of the Sahara was once a city, what kind of people built it? How advanced were they? And what kind of disaster could erase all evidence of their existence? These questions remain unanswered, But one thing is certain. Every new discovery beneath the sands of Mauritania brings us closer to understanding whether the story of Atlantis was myth or memory. As investigations continued, new findings began to challenge everything we thought we knew about the Sahara. In recent years, satellite imagery and geological surveys revealed that the region around the eye of the Sahara once held vast networks of rivers, lakes, and even lush vegetation. This evidence suggests that thousands of years ago, the area could have supported life, perhaps even an advanced civilization. Researchers studying ancient climate data found that the Sahara was not always a desert. Around 10,000 years ago, it was part of what scientists now call the Green Sahara, a fertile land filled with wildlife and human settlements. Cave paintings discovered in nearby regions show animals like giraffes, hippos, and elephants, proof that water once flowed abundantly here. If this was the world Plato's Atlantis belonged to, it begins to make sense how such a powerful society could rise and then vanish. There is also evidence of mysterious stone circles and ruins spread across Mauritania and neighboring countries. Some of these structures align with celestial patterns, suggesting knowledge of astronomy far beyond what we expect from early human societies. Were these remnants of forgotten people who once lived near the eye, or perhaps the final echoes of a culture erased by a cataclysm? Plato described how Atlantis met its end through violent floods and earthquakes that destroyed the city in a single day and night. Interestingly, the Sahara shows traces of massive erosion, flash flooding, and ancient seismic activity. Could these natural forces have been responsible for wiping out an entire civilization, one that left behind only circular ruins and myths of a lost world? Even more curious are the magnetic anomalies detected beneath the Richat Structure. Scientists found irregularities in the Earth's magnetic field, suggesting something unusual beneath the surface, possibly ancient volcanic rock, or something else entirely. Some theorists claim this could indicate buried structures or metallic deposits left behind by human activity long before recorded history. If that's true, then perhaps we're not just looking at a geological feature, but at the skeletal remains of a forgotten city. A city that once dominated an ancient world until nature reclaimed it. Was Atlantis truly destroyed? Or did it simply fade into the sands of time, becoming the eye that watches silently from the heart of Africa? No one can say for sure. But the deeper we look, the more the earth seems to whisper the same thing. The past we were taught to believe may only be part of the story. As technology advanced, new tools allowed scientists and independent researchers to examine the eye of the Sahara in ways that were once impossible. High-resolution satellite imaging, 3D terrain mapping, and ground-penetrating radar began revealing strange patterns beneath the surface, shapes and alignments that didn't appear to be random. Some even resembled foundations or walls buried deep under layers of sediment. If these signals truly represent man-made structures, they could be the first tangible proof that something once stood here, something ancient and advanced enough to leave traces large enough to be visible from space. But official investigations into the area remain limited, and access to the site is heavily restricted. That alone has sparked even more curiosity. Why would such a remote and unimportant geological feature be so difficult to explore freely? Adding to the mystery, NASA's photographs of the eye, originally meant for geological study, became viral among theorists and researchers who saw more than just natural patterns. Some noticed similarities between the eye's spiral shape and sacred geometrical symbols found in ancient civilizations across the world. Others pointed out that the erosion lines resemble channels that once carried water, perfectly matching Plato's description of concentric canals dividing Atlantis. Plato also mentioned that the Atlanteans built their city with alternating rings of land and water, surrounding a central island where their temple to Poseidon stood. When the eye is viewed from above, its eroded rings seem to follow that same design. The center, the circular depressions, and the outer ridge all fitting within the measurements described more than 2,000 years ago. Skeptics argue these parallels are pure coincidence, but history is filled with coincidences that later turned out to be truths waiting to be rediscovered. Many ancient sites once dismissed as myths like Troy or even parts of the Amazon's lost cities, were eventually proven real. So, could the same be true for Atlantis? Some researchers believe the catastrophic end described by Plato may align with sudden climate shifts that turned the lush Sahara into a desert. A massive environmental collapse could have buried cities, dried rivers, and erased entire cultures from memory. Over thousands of years, the wind and sand would have done the rest, leaving only faint traces of what once was. Perhaps that is why the eye of the Sahara looks both alive and dead at the same time, a fossilized memory of an age erased by time. Maybe the question is not whether Atlantis existed, but whether humanity is ready to accept how much of our past has been forgotten. Today, the Eye of the Sahara stands as one of the most mysterious landmarks on Earth, a colossal spiral of stone and silence that seems to watch over the desert like a memory carved into the planet itself. Scientists continue to debate its origin, but for many, the question goes far beyond geology. What if the Richat Structure isn't just a natural wonder, but a monument to a forgotten chapter of human history? If we accept that the Sahara was once fertile and full of life, the idea of an ancient civilization thriving there suddenly feels possible. Imagine a city built with incredible precision, using technologies and knowledge that vanished long before our history began. A civilization so advanced it left behind patterns only visible from space. And when disaster struck, everything it created was buried, leaving only a circular scar in the desert to remind us that it once existed. For thousands of years, cultures around the world have spoken of floods, fallen empires, and cities erased overnight. What if those stories are fragments of the same memory? One great civilization that the Earth itself tried to hide. Some believe the eye's strange magnetic field and energy patterns could still hold clues about that forgotten past. Others think it serves as a warning, a message from history about what happens when humanity grows too powerful and too careless. But maybe, just maybe, the truth has been in front of us all along. Visible from space, impossible to ignore, yet still unanswered. Could NASA's photos have captured the last trace of Atlantis? Could the Eye of the Sahara be the key to everything we've been missing about our origins? Tell me what you believe. Do you think Atlantis once stood here, beneath the sands of Africa? Or is the eye just another trick of nature, one that happens to resemble our oldest myth? Share your theory in the comments, and let's see how many of us think the truth is still buried out there, waiting to be uncovered. Because one thing is certain, the Eye of Africa is still watching. The only question is, what secret is it keeping?